This is ACC Nation, your source for ACC sports coverage. Connect with us at accnation.net. Listen to our podcast and streaming radio. Watch us on YouTube and follow us on your favorite social media outlet. Now, here's Will and Jim.
Welcome to ACC Nation. That's Will Ojanen, and I'm Jim Quist. Thanks for letting us join you. We're going to talk some football and a little basketball tonight, amazingly enough. We're getting to that point in the season, football-wise, that it's going to start overlapping with basketball. So we're just going to introduce a little bit of basketball just to get your taste buds tempted, just a little bit. I know you can't wait, you die-hard basketball fans. Can't wait for football to be gone. You got a little while yet, so don't get too excited. Hey, by the way, let's talk about football for just a moment. Some things that have gone on outside of the stadium. This one is big. ADs approved, the ACC ADs approved a 9-game conference schedule, and they have to play 10 Power 4 games. I don't see any issues with that. I mean, it's look, you're pretty close to it already. Mostly everybody is already close to it. It's some of the schools that are taking their sweet time building their programs up that may have a little bit of a problem with that. But in general, you're almost there. Everybody else in college football seems to be doing it.
Yeah,
So why shouldn't we?
exactly. And the thing of it is people want to see competitive games. Like I know scheduling your group of five or whatever, your FCS opponents, it obviously most of the time, not every time, is you schedule those games A to win and B give the other school a 6 or 7 figure check
Yeah,
to come play
taste.
because that helps fund them.
Mhm.
But from a television standpoint, it doesn't do very well in the ratings because unless you're a fan of said school, why are you going to watch?
Exactly.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. Like I go through this sometimes watching football games. I don't think I've watched a full Louisville game this season outside of like I watched a lot of the game against JMU, but they haven't played anybody and you've given me no reason to because they're not playing anybody.
Yeah. Now that brings us into our next off the beaten path thing here. I saw a comment on X, and it just sort of struck me as being short-sighted. And I'm not going to call out any names here. This isn't somebody who's a blogger, just a fan. And and everybody has an opinion. And you know what the saying that is, it goes with that, but I won't apply it here. But this is what was basically said, that they're not happy with the fact that their games have all been on the ACC network because they're not getting the eyeballs and they'd rather have it on the CW. Now, of course, that is tied in with what Will's talking about is that if you're not getting those eyeballs on games, you're not going to get a slice of the pie as big as maybe you would like or that you need for your program, right? So my thought was this, just what Will said a second ago, but play somebody, I don't want to watch Bowling Green. Sorry, guys. Bowling Green's a nice community, but
Yeah,
it's cool, but I don't care.
and we got to remember too, a lot of these games are already scheduled. The network schedules them months in advance.
Yep.
Like people when the USF Miami game was on the CW and everybody was up in arms about that. Guess what? That was scheduled back in May. Nobody knew USF at the time was going to be a top 20 team. It just so happened to
Yep.
be that kind of matchup. And hey, it's on free linear television, folks. So,
That's right. Take advantage.
mhm.
Now here's the thing, though. everybody, we've all done this. We've all made fun of the ACC network over the years. And, from what is the Spurtle or whatever the hell that thing was that you,
Yeah, the new one is that the last time I saw was like the four Patriots commercials that
oh, yeah, yeah.
seem ran at least during I don't know if I watched very many games last week on the ACC network, but the weekend before I felt like every commercial break had one.
Yeah. MREs and all kinds of other stuff. And, yeah. Um, and uh, that's just the way it is in broadcasting. If you're trying to sell something, and you don't have really a product to sell per se, this is what happens. You have a hard time, pulling down the big bucks. Well, you got to have games that draw people. And if you have games that draw people, now that Louisville JMU game, I knew that was going to be good. I look back on something that I wrote a couple of weeks ago, and it said, "Look out because JMU is one of those teams they're going to sneak up on you. They're
Mhm.
good. Don't don't shove JMU to the side. You're a
Right.
fool if you do that. It's like playing North Dakota State. If you think just because North Dakota State is well, never heard of it, no, blah blah blah. That team can roll over people in a heartbeat, and
Hmm.
they were one of the best FCS schools in the nation for years. Nice
Hmm.
campus, by the way, guys. I really
Hmm.
liked when I visited.
Yeah, so a couple things on that, like with the aspect. Hey, that game with JMU and Louisville was on a Friday night. There was pretty much the only game in town that night. So yeah, it's going to get a lot of eyeballs.
Yep,
And number two, Fargo, North Dakota, as Jim says, a hell of a place. It's a great town, great campus. Shout out to our friend at All Sports Discussion, Matthew. So
that's right. Nice people. Just like Matthew. It's you can see once you visited Fargo, and if you know Matthew, you know where that character comes from. So, nice place. Um, so the point here is that this ACC network does indeed draw eyes. Okay, they're presenting a schedule that is getting far wider viewership than anything that used to be going through Raycom and would be picked up haphazardly in the past. You had no guarantees that it was in Texas or California or any other state for that matter, other than the states in which the game had, some interest in, and maybe a local programmer would say, hey, well, yeah, it's a Wake Forest NC State game, so TV stations in North Carolina would carry it. Would a Boston station carry that game? Probably not. But now with the ACC network tied in with ESPN, it is across the board everywhere. And it's just like the CW people put down the CW. Oh, CW. You know, man, they have, even though they have limited number of games from the ACC, they have some awesome viewership numbers. And like you said, Will, linear. They're, you anybody can get them anywhere. So there you go. Take what you can get and run with it. Be happy. There's some of these. I look at some of the Big 12 stuff where they are and are not available. Hey,
yeah, exactly. We've seen their games on. Well, I mean, obviously, you're gonna at this time of year, these first few weeks of the season, some of these games are going to get relegated to ACC Network Extra on streaming of only because when you're six touchdown favorites, somebody's got to get the boot because you only have so many options to air games. I mean,
that's right.
ESPN has its inventory of games to put on the regular ESPN or ABC, ESPN2, ESPNU, um, and they have SEC games. They do have some of these other conferences. They have contracts with the feature games, so somebody's going to have to get relegated to the ACC network. That's just how it is.
So we come back to the 10 P4s. Stop playing I mean, we talked about this years ago, Will. I don't even know how many years ago it was we were talking about this. Get rid of the cupcakes off your schedule. I'm sorry. And I know it's nice to put money into the pockets of some of these teams. And I am all for supporting some of these schools. But more than two or three of these things on your schedule, it illustrates to me that there's a weakness in your program. And, you need to do something. Hey,
Right. I was going to point out real quick
yeah,
that USF Miami game put up 720,000 views on the CW. So
yeah.
that's a pretty impressive number for a game like that on a net on the CW. I mean, I don't know. I mean, who knows what it would have done on ESPN? It probably would have been in the seven digits, but this is kind of the, you know, learn that learn your CW networks, folks.
That's right.
And to be fair to some extent, I've noticed that some of the streaming options don't some markets don't have the CW. Like for example, DirecTV doesn't have the CW in all markets. Here that being the case here in the Twin Cities where I am, I noticed that recently because I still was old school and had the box, and then I canceled it here just a couple of weeks ago, and then realized I don't have the CW. So I'm gonna have to switch probably over to YouTube TV here in a couple of weeks and do it that way.
Uh, it's right there, man.
Hmm.
It's available on your phone. Um, I've got the CW app on my phone, and anywhere I go, I can pull it up. So now, you know, that doesn't guarantee you're going to get stuff, but I mean, because there's certain circumstances, obviously, especially if you have a local station broadcasting it. But anyway, that's that. The Athletic, their FBS rankings, they have Clemson at 46, and I noticed today that Dabo has come out and admits that he's let people down. Um, let me just say something. He's a hell of a coach, and Clemson has benefited greatly from having him as a head coach. Has he adjusted in a way that makes everybody happy? Maybe not, but it's a little early for people to be rushing like they have been. Let's get rid of, let's get rid of him. Let's put him on the hot seat. I'm going. I don't think I would do that. It's the same thing with Bill Belichick. I mean, you know, everybody has questions about Bill being at UNC, but if you look into his past and see what he did with New England and how he built that system there and how they failed initially, but it all started coming around, uh, you start thinking, yeah, maybe I should stick with this a little while longer, a year or two more and see where it goes. I think his goal basically is to build that program up in North Carolina and get it rolling. Lay out the basically everything that needs to be done, and just hand it over to his son and let it roll from there, which is not a bad plan. I mean, if that's is okay with UNC, which I'm sure it is. But you know, let's not. Uh, Virginia Tech, you had a reason. Okay, I don't see anybody else right at this moment to even anybody even talking about getting rid of somebody right now. It's just talk. So anyway, let's talk about football. Let's talk about football. Um, and since we were talking about Dabo and boy, what a game! Syracuse over Clemson, 34-21. Wow. I mean, I couldn't turn away.
I was going back and doing some stuff, and there is a lot to talk about just from this game alone.
Yep.
Like you look at the way Syracuse like started the game, they got the ball. scored on the opening drive, got the touchdown, then turned around and went onside, surprise onside kick, got it, went down. They were already up 10-0 before Clemson even got to sniff the ball. Um, and it was, and that just really set a tone right there. And then there was this in Syracuse opened up, they were up 24-14 at halftime. I put this out on the ACC Nation TikTok yesterday, and it has gotten a lot of comments and whatnot. But there was a play in the a situation. I'm going to just the play and then the decision making that really focused there. I'm really focused on. Okay, it was 3rd and 11, right around midfield.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe just shy of midfield, but Klubnik throws. He's back to throw. He's got a guy open towards the far sideline. You see that if you look at the play, the defenders are running back like away from him. And he's got a guy towards the near sideline that he ends up throwing to, and he it's in the picture he looks open, but there's actually somebody just off screen, and he tackled him right away, got 6 yards out of it. So it ended up being 4th and 5 in plus territory. I think it was right around the 45 yard line.
Oh, okay. Now I know.
Dabo punts.
Yeah, yeah,
And it goes into the end zone for a touchback, ends up basically being at plus 20 net. So it didn't really have a significant effect on field position. Except Syracuse goes down and gets the benefit of two roughing the passer calls. And I think there was another penalty by Clemson on the drive too that benefited. It went down, scored a touchdown. It was 24-7.
yep,
Just like that.
yep.
And like I said, they were up 24-14 at halftime. Then there was a lightning delay that kind of took forever, what felt like, to get rid of. And then even still, like Clemson had a big second half, but a lot of it was like empty calories, really. 263 yards in the second half, but they got 7 points.
Yeah.
They even turned it over twice as well. But the big news that came out of this game was Steve Angeli tore his Achilles and is out for the season, which is a big blow to the Oranges. He actually played fairly well so far this season. How they're going to respond to that, we don't know. I mean, they did bring in the backup, and he threw a touchdown, but all in all, I didn't think he looked that great. But now he's going to have plenty of time to prepare for the starting job, and how much this affects the rest of the season, I don't know. But yeah, everyone's just going to look at Clemson and the fact that they lost as a home favorite to a team that is significantly less talented than them. And now you just wonder, does Clemson care anymore? At least not the coach. The coach cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
Defense does. I'm not sure the defense cares,
I don't.
and some of the offense too.
Yeah. I'm. I go to Kate Klubnik for a moment. I'm not going to. I'm not going to blame him for anything here, but I'm just going to make an observation. He has not settled in this season at all. I don't get it. I don't. I'm not sure what's going on there. He seems very distracted and unsure of himself. And that's not the guy that we saw last year, um, or even really leading into that. I mean, so I'm not sure what's happening there. On defense, wow.
I thought they had a significant advantage in the trenches, and we even talked about
Yeah.
that last week. How Syracuse's offensive line has not been very good at pass protection. I think for the most part, I don't remember how many sacks Clemson had, but it didn't seem like very many.
So I wanted to say three or four, but I'm not sure about that. I've got a bunch of games all packed in here, and I'm having a hard time sifting through them all today. Uh,
Yeah.
for for some behind the scenes reasons, shots in both arms. Um, anyway, yeah. Um, the one thing that when Dabo came out and said, we can still uh, come out of this and win games. And I believe that. I firmly believe that. And I think Clemson fans should believe that. I think they should be supportive of this team. The more you get behind your team, the more likely they are to respond to that too. Um, I think again, I go back to him as a coach. He's a hell of a coach. I mean, I take him in a heartbeat. Um, would I have a
And
conversation with him about utilization of different things? Sure, but I mean that's a whole different thing. Um, and I do believe that anybody who can stand up and say and did what he did, and admit that I've let people down. He's a bigger man than most of us, and I admire him for that too. There's some things about him I don't particularly like, but hey, there's tons of people in life. There's stuff about all of us that we may not like one way or the other, but it doesn't matter in the bigger scheme of things. Do I admire him and respect him as a coach? Has he done a wonderful job at Clemson? Hell yes.
yep, and Dabo did finally use the portal this offseason. And for them, I mean, I haven't gone back to see how those portal kids are doing, but he's at least used it some this
Yeah.
last offseason, and maybe his like, hey, that's why I don't use the portal. I don't know. Don't know.
I think that would what would benefit him greatly, and every football coach in America is that they do exactly what some teams within the ACC have done. You get yourself basically a manager in place. Okay, that person can take all the nuances of NIL and transfer portal and be working them because that stuff is a major damn distraction to coaches. Coaches want to coach football. They don't want to get outside of that and play these wacky little games. I think that's what ran Tony Bennett out of Virginia is that he wanted to coach. He just wanted to coach, you know? But it's all this other bull crap that you got to
Deep.
deal with. Yeah. It's so come on, AD, start looking at this, be realistic, get your people managers, or maybe just establish a department overall that's what they do within your own, under the umbrella of the athletic director who is taking care of this stuff. You know, um, I think you'll have a lot more effective coaching staffs if you take that crap off their shoulders. Um, I just don't think it's fair to throw all that stuff on top of them. It's all new. It's constantly changing. It distracts them from teaching and being involved in their teams. Um, do something. Do something with this. This is a learning lesson for all of us as time goes on. So, um, interestingly enough, we have the two teams that were in the ACC championship game last season and in the playoffs losing this week. TCU over SMU 35-24. Now, both Clemson and SMU have fallen out of the top 25. And, you know, not so much a surprise, I think, with SMU. I don't think they had as much coming back as Clemson, so it's not as much of a shocker. I think it's disappointing for the Mustang fans who can no longer, what is it? They can't say pony up anymore. Come on, who's got time for that?
I know.
What the hell? Who came up with that idea? Take them
I
out behind the
mean,
bars.
every school is ponying up right now. Not the same way as they are, but as far as, congratulations to TCU. You're out to a commanding lead in the ACC standings, beating both SMU and UNC.
Yep.
Congratulations. You might end up with more ACC wins in some schools at the end of the season. Just saying. Um, the one thing I took out of this game, and funny thing is last week I complimented SMU's defense against Missouri State and the way they handled them after the slow start.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was not the case here. TCU just lit up that SMU secondary, gave up 379 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. And this is, remember, they gave up over 400 yards against Baylor in the game a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, it feels like this is a going to be a bit of an issue for the Mustangs this year. I think Kevin Johnson's doing a good job. He threw 3 touchdown passes this game, but did throw a couple of interceptions. But uh, yeah, SMU still. I still think SMU is going to be a bowl team this year. I'm not worried about them too much. I mean, I think it was a lot to ask them to think they could repeat going back to the ACC championship game after last season, especially with a much tougher schedule.
Gives them something to look at and to, again, I think when you switch over into a new conference and the fact that they went to the championship game, wow, okay, that's fantastic. And the fact they went on to the playoffs, it just shows you that you've got a good coach there, you've got a good program, um, you've got the momentum going. Get rid of this idiot who said no more pony up because they just ought to be kicked right where it counts. Um, sorry, that's an East Coast opinion. East Coast elite here. Um, I just tell you that SMU is going to be. That's right. If it rains, I drown. Um, so SMU is going to be a program to be dealt with in the future, and so one rough start to a season, live with it. You're in the ACC. Okay, so up next, and this is a game we talked about as well. Louisville with a 40-17 win over Bowling Green. Again, the biggest problem here I have with this is that if you continue to play teams that are not in that, you know, you're not doing yourself any favors here. So, um, in the future, I hope, especially with this change that was approved, you will be playing teams that will push you up in the rankings and push you closer to the CFP and will put more eyeballs on your game so that you have more revenue sharing. See, it all comes together there. It's amazing, isn't it?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, it's like we talked about earlier. We don't know fully what to make of Louisville yet because they ain't played nobody, pal.
God almighty.
I
Okay,
mean,
Feinbaum we need to find a deep dark hole.
yeah. I didn't read the article, but I saw he's trying to push Dabo into the announcer's booth or something.
Oh my God.
Anyways, Louisville. Yeah, they once
Paul
again they have
Feinbaum
a
is an
really potent
idiot.
run attack. What's that?
I said Paul Feinbaum is an idiot. I'll
Yeah.
know this. In fact, I think he knows it too. He looks in the mirror
But
every day. Yeah, before I shave.
as far as like I said with Louisville, they have a good running attack. They ran the ball well here. Not much, Colin Lacey, really big playmaker for them in this game. Had over 100 yards receiving. Miller Moss over 300 yards passing. But then again, it's Bowling Green, so how much does it matter in the grand scheme of things? We'll start knowing now coming up this week who Louisville is.
Yeah. Yep. This coming week will be the week that we start to see if they are something and whether they're worthy of getting out of the receiving votes category and moving into the top 25. Uh, Virginia Tech over Wofford. It's always good to come out of a bad situation into a good and come out with a win. Again, one of these games doesn't tell us squat. 38-6, Virginia Tech over Wofford.
Yeah, I actually watched the early portions of this game because I just wanted to see how Virginia Tech came out
Mhm.
in this game under the interim coach and the new. and knew whatnot. But and they went down on the opening drive. They got stopped on fourth and short inside the Wofford 10-yard line. But they quickly forced, they got Wofford to punt. I don't like to say forced to punt. You're never really forced to punt. You just elect to punt. But you could just tell there was a significant talent gap in this game. I mean, Kyron Jones had over 300 yards passing. The defense sacked Wofford 4 times, had 12 tackles for loss. And congratulations to everybody who listened to this game because you had more yards rushing than Wofford did. Wofford finished with a -1 yard rushing. So
Between your
congratulations,
couch
everybody.
and the refrigerator, you got in more yardage.
Yep.
How about that? Unless you have a refrigerator right beside your couch. Some people do.
Mm. I
Uh,
got one right over my shoulder here, actually.
well, see, there you go. You're one of the guys.
Yeah.
You don't have to go very far to get what you want.
Mm-mm.
All right, next game up, UCF. That's not a surprise here. 34-9 over North Carolina.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I was wrong about in this game was there wasn't a lightning delay. I predicted there would be one on the last podcast, and there was not.
Swear.
Unlike the Florida State game, I think there was a lightning delay briefly in that one. In the my and so, but it's the same old with UNC. They had 217 yards of offense in this game. Gio Lopez struggled through a couple of picks, ended up getting injured in the third quarter. Max Johnson came in, um, you know, didn't have a ton more success. Uh, yeah, this is the status quo right now. It's going to be long here. Let's just be real.
Yeah. All right, next game. Another one of those. It doesn't really matter. The points. It does matter from this standpoint. When you beat a team of this caliber, you need to beat them by huge score. It's important because people are looking at these games and going, well, did they take they take their foot off the gas, or were they just not capable of putting points up on the board? They're not going to look into it in depth to know one way or the other. But one glance at a scoreboard will tell you Florida State 66, Kent State 10 was exactly where Florida State should be with this game.
Yeah, I mentioned last week when we were talking about this game that Kent State might be the worst FBS team out there by a significant margin.
Yeah.
I mentioned they barely beat Merrimack, who is a relatively new FCS team by 4, lost 62-14 to Texas Tech, and then lost to Buffalo, and they're only in at home by 3, and then this game again. We this is what you wanted to see Florida State do is go out and hammer a considerably inferior opponent. They had almost 800 total yards in this game. They ran for 498 yards and 8 touchdowns. Kent State had 206 yards in total offense, and 75 of them came on one play. So again, we haven't really seen Florida State in a competitive situation since the Alabama game, and we're gonna get one this Friday. So that once again, we're gonna see that barometer of where Florida State is now.
Yep. Looking forward to that. Up next, this game told me an awful lot about both of these teams. And watching it, it's so funny because when we first started watching this, Will, our DMs were not in the positive about where Duke was standing at that moment. Um, Man, it was like, oh boy. But see, this is the mark of a good team and a good coaching staff that you can come from behind and literally getting your butt kicked and fight your way back for a win, and not just a close win, but a definitive win. 45-33, the final. Duke over NC State. My God, Pack fans. Will it ever end?
Yeah, when we were talking about it, we were talking before NC State decided to start serving up turnovers for dessert.
Yeah.
Um, that's really the story of this game. State turned it over 4 times. CJ Bailey threw 3 interceptions. Despite that, they outgained Duke 535 to 418. Bailey threw 364 yards. Hollywood Smothers had 123 yards on the ground and a TD. But again, turnovers, can't have them if you especially that many if you expect to win a ball game.
Yep.
Darian Mensah threw 3 touchdown passes in his game, still looking really, really good. Anderson Castle, the running back, ran for 3 touchdowns in this game. Um, this is the kind of game that Duke needed to get back on track after a couple of losses.
Yeah. That Tulane loss. I honestly, I have my issues with that. I just don't think they should have lost that game. Um, but they came back from it. I mean, this is, like I said, this says a lot about Duke. So, uh, next game up, Georgia Tech over Temple. Now, at first thought, you'd say that this score was too close because, after all, it's only Temple. But as pointed out, Temple has been improving their program over the last few years and have made significant strides. So this isn't too much of a surprise, other than in our minds, in the back of our minds, we're still going, Temple? Temple? Georgia Tech 45-24 over Temple.
They should have ran it up on him for Jeff Collins. That personally, but that's just me. But no, yeah, I think the thing that stood out to me here is, and we talked about this last week when we were just briefly previewing the game, is I thought it was important for them to get up early, get Haynes King out of the game, and get him rested. Well, that didn't really happen, but the game he only ran 8 times in this game, which is smart. Again, this is a team you should beat without a significant contribution from him. Um, the Yellow Jackets as a whole ran for 307 yards and had 4 touchdown passes. Jamal Haynes had 107 yards in this game, and they averaged almost 10 yards per play. I mean, with numbers like that, they should have scored as many points as they did. Arguably, you could argue they could have scored more, but
Yeah.
again, another taking care of business win by the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, and again, this is I think Georgia Tech is one of those teams that as an opponent I would not be looking at their schedule and looking at their wins and going, eh, I think we can handle. Big mistake. Big mistake to think that. Now this next game, there's an awful lot of talk that Miami should have just blown Florida out of the water. It doesn't happen with in-state rivalry games. It does not happen. And there was a period of time there that I thought Miami was just going to absolutely run away with this game, and then Florida adjusted, and that says a lot about Florida. And Miami finally adjusted, and then they got the score where it should be. The final was 26-7. I think it's I cannot see anything horribly wrong with this team. Uh, Top five they should be. They're 2 in the AP. They're 6 in the coaches poll, which I thought was a little askew.
Yeah, so you were right though, Jim, because there was a period in this game, probably through the third quarter, where we were in danger of Mario Cristobal blowing this game because he was extremely conservative on offense again, and it's going to bite him in the ass at some
Gotta
point
start
this season. We
winning.
know it. We just don't know when. But again, the fourth quarter was the difference in this game. Miami outscored Florida 13 to nothing and outgained them 104 to 10. Mark Fletcher and Chamar Brown combined for 196 yards and three touchdown runs. And the defense held Florida to 141 total yards. They sacked DJ Lagway four times. And I mean, the Florida offense is in shambles in more than one way. I mean, I think I saw today that Lagway's in a boot now.
Yeah.
Um, the offense is offensive. Um, what was the old saying about the team's offensive execution? The coach was like, "I'm in favor of it." That's Florida.
Yes.
I mean, I think if I remember correctly, I think Billy Napier's call is calling the plays too. And maybe if you're struggling that much and you potentially blew a rivalry game or a game against an in-state rival, you probably should look at yourself in the mirror. I mean, he may not get the chance, quite frankly, because he might be gone before that happens. But
There's some
again,
big.
Miami top five in the polls now, 100% deserved. I think I would probably put them somewhere in my personal poll around three or four. But they're definitely a top five team right now.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Mario. Jeez, dude. There's something in his childhood. You can just see it. There's this. You can see it on his face too. It's like when you watch these games, it's just all of a sudden it's just like something kicks in. There's this fear of something. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing in the world. You can see it just come over him where he didn't really put the brakes on per se. It's just like you say, he just becomes extremely conservative with how he's playing. Don't do that. Stop it. It's not it's not the way you're going to play. Look, if the game was 8-7, yeah, I can understand conservative play at that point, but you know, no, no, and especially if you're playing Florida, and if especially if you want recognition by the CFP committee, you need to run the score up, and you could have, and you didn't. So that's the only fault I see in that game is that he had an opportunity, and there's something about him and his character that does not allow him to do that. Fair play or something, or just courtesy. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know what it is. That's not how I would do stuff. But then again, I'm not coach of Miami. Um, Virginia with a 48-20 win over Stanford. Stanford came and looked to put on a game here, man. I mean, but Virginia has man, they've really demonstrated that they have some offensive spunk.
Which I did not think I would ever say about a Des Kitchings led offense, but God, this was extremely impressive. Yeah, I know it's Stanford. Yes, they came off, their first conference win against Boston College, but if you go back and look at it, there were a lot of things that kind of tilted into Stanford's favor in terms of luck. And it I guess luck ran out on them in this game. Virginia had 590 yards of offense, outrushed Stanford 206 to 35.
Mhm.
Chandler Morris, 380 yards passing. He threw four touchdowns, ran for one. Trell Harris had 145 yards, four catches, 145 yards, three touchdowns, all in like the first quarter and a half of the game. Now, they did run the ball for Stanford. CJ Williams and Bryce Farrell each had over 100 yards receiving, I should say. But Virginia had five sacks. And this is a team that has struggled to get to the quarterback. I think they only had like maybe two sacks coming into the game, and they had five in this game. And this was probably I mean, yeah, I think it because it's the level of competition. This is the most impressive victory or game of Virginia's season. I know they put up more points against William and Mary, but doing this in conference, I think, really speaks a lot, especially with who's coming up this week.
Yeah, they've improved significantly since week one, and look forward to seeing what they can deliver as more of the season goes on. Um, I think Stanford actually is improving as well. Um, Saw that in that game, so gotta point that out as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
the one thing that I see about Virginia's defense that's a problem is they get beat a lot deep
yep. Oh yeah.
in the pass game, and I was talking about those receivers being over 100 yards receiving, and a lot of that had to do with that. I know a couple of the DBs got beat pretty bad.
Yeah, they did. So we'll see how Florida State works on that this coming week. And our last game, the Calgary absolutely went all zeros on us here. San Diego State 34, California 0. And uh, I guess, along with a lot of other people, just sort of, what the hell?
This was kind of a reality check game. People were like buying the Cal hype and thinking, oh, maybe they could be a dark horse to get into the ACC championship game because they have just because of this quarterback. And need I remind you, he's a true freshman, folks. He's going to have these moments. And I guess, and I quite frankly, I did not watch this game. This game was on. I was in bed before this game really got going. But there are a lot of people who think that Jaron Calway Sagabulatelli is having get when you pressure him, this is where you can get to him, and I think that's kind of the recipe for San Diego State here and how they were able to fluster him and threw two picks, 17 of 38 passing. Ultimately, I think he got benched in this game, but again, um, long term, I still like him.
Oh,
This is just kind of that,
gotcha.
reality check back down to earth the reminder that he's not perfect and that he's going to struggle sometimes, especially as a true freshman. Again, I like how long term I with him as quarterback, as long as he's still their quarterback, but I still think we need to temper expectations a little bit.
I think if they continue to do what they did this past season with a transfer portal, retain him as quarterback, which I think they're going to. Um, he's got some really strong ties there. Uh, yeah, I think Cal is a team to definitely keep an eye on. I think within a year, if not, you may see this really starting to click at the end of the year, but definitely next year. I would say Cal is going to be almost in the same shoes as SMU was last season. I just really believe that this team, if they get the right pieces, is going to be a team to watch and will be taking a run at that championship. So we'll see if they can pull it off. Now, let's talk about this coming week. On Friday, we've got the lights. Oh, 7 o'clock on ESPN. It's Florida State and UVA, and Scott Stadium is the place. And I know everybody is so tired of me saying Scott Stadium is where teams go to lose.
You know, I'm really excited for this game because it's been a while since Virginia's had a prime time home game in Charlottesville against a really good opponent. Now, I I I I like I'm gonna admit I like Florida State in this game.
Yeah,
I definitely think there's some shootout potential here. Where I can see Virginia winning is I mean they ran the ball really well. The one thing is, and I did mention this earlier, their center Brady Wilson, who has been a key part of this offensive line. He was injured during the Stanford game, and he I was he was either ice or he was in a boot after the game. Tony Elliott doesn't speak to the media until Tuesday, and we're recording this on Monday night, so we currently don't have all the information on him. And if it turns out he's out for this game, I think that's a big loss to the Virginia offensive line. But again, I could see this being a little shootouty, quite frankly. So I'll take Florida State. But again, my hope is Virginia's competitive in this game and they don't lay an egg.
I think it will be a shootout as well. Florida State is my pick for the winner here, and it's because I don't believe Virginia's defense is enough. It
Yep,
just
and there is a player that I'm going to actually speak. I mentioned the ACC Nation TikTok earlier. I'm going to be talking about a certain Florida State player here. I'm going to probably put that up on Tuesday sometime. So give ACC Nation a follow on TikTok, and you can see all about it.
ACC Nation Net is where you
Exactly.
go. Um, okay, on Saturday, limited schedule. Got a lot of teams on bye. First of three nooners, Louisville at Pitt on ESPN2. That will be a game to watch, mainly to see who proves what. That's what I'm looking for here. I want to see which of these two teams we can say is in what position from the standpoint of a power poll, because we don't know yet. We don't know. You haven't played anybody of significance to let us know yet. So this game will do it.
Sorry, Jim, my earphones went out for a second. Which game were you talking about?
Louisville Pitt.
Yeah, so you're right. This is the ultimate who are you game for both teams. We've mentioned Louisville not really playing anybody. Pitt played West Virginia and lost to them in a what was kind of a thrilling game, honestly. But
Yeah.
I think West Virginia turned around last week and no, they did. I think they're 2-1. They lost to Kansas. That's who it was in their last game, 41-10.
Mm.
So yeah, that's concerning, but. I think I'm going to take the Cardinals in this game, even the games at Acrisure. I have some hesitancy with Pitt right now, and I still think Louisville's a better team.
Ditto. I'm going with Louisville on this one. Pitt can win this game. They
They
really
got to
can.
muddy it up a little bit.
Yeah. You know, they got to get in there and grind it out because Louisville has the weapons and the ability to put the ball up and on the ground and run it into the damn end zone time after time after time. And if you're not stout or at least meeting and matching those scores, then you're going to be out of this.
Yeah, I think if Pitt wins this game, it's gonna have to be a heavy Des Reed game.
Very. Next game, Duke at Syracuse. This is the one I'm really really interested in watching. This game is going to be on the ACC network. Guess what? Somebody's watching. Um, Duke at Syracuse, 12 nooner, ACC network, and man, this should be absolutely a barn burner of a game.
Yeah, a lot has changed with this game just because I don't know how Ricky Collins is going to be handle the starting job. I mean, like I said, he was 3 of 8 against Clemson. Um, but I think if they try to run the ball more in this game and with Willis and whatnot, I think they have a better shot of winning the game. And Duke's defense, I think we could be realistic, is not nearly as good as it was last year. So this game is a lot more toss-uppy than I anticipated it being. I I'm gonna take Duke, but again, I'm not confident on it.
This is one
Just
of the
because it's the unknown of the quarterback.
yeah. I'm all in on this backup quarterback. I actually, you say the numbers 3 of 8, and you didn't feel like he looked that good in that performance. considering circumstances, I understand that. But I saw glimpses of stuff in his play that impressed me. And I thought, basically, once you get in the rhythm, you may not be Angeli, but you're not Angeli, so maybe you're going to be your own guy, and bring something else to the table here, um, which I would love to see for Syracuse. I hate the fact that they lost their starting quarterback, who is just a gem. At least he gets a red shirt out of this. Um,
Mhm.
but I think this guy has an opportunity here to step up and deliver and really provide something for his team, his teammates, and himself. And we'll
Mhm.
see. I'm because it's at Syracuse. Oh boy, I'm very tempted to go with Syracuse in this game. Um, Duke cannot afford any daggone turnovers at all in this
Mhm.
game. If they do, they're gonna get kicked in the teeth. Um, God, I'm going with a Will Waggle here, dude. Um,
Yeah, this is a very much a Will Waggle kind of game.
I'm not gonna pick. I think this is a I think
Boo!
I think this
Boo!
is I, hey, I get that every night when I get into bed with my wife. So enough of that. Uh, so look, uh, I think this is a real toss-up game, and I could go either way. And it's like I said, it's going to be a fun game to watch. So, Will
hmm
Waggle. Wah, 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 wah. All right,
Waggle
next
waggle.
game, Georgia Tech at Wake Forest. That's a nooner as well. That's going to
Mhm.
be on ESPN. I find it interesting that this is going to be on ESPN. Um,
Yeah.
it's only because Georgia Tech is ranked as high as they
hmm
are. So,
Yeah, and they should win in this game pretty handily. Not like a blowout, but comfortably. I just feel like they're going to be able to do have a lot of success in offense, and I just don't know if I trust this Wake offense against the Georgia Tech defense.
yeah, there you go, Georgia Tech. Pretty simple pick for me. Sorry guys. So Cal at BC 3:30, and that's on the ACC network. Um, the thing about this is Cal coming off that loss is going to be looking for you know
hmm
some payback at the unfortunately Boston College. But here's the thing: Boston College is not an easy out, especially at home. Ever. I mean, they give everybody a hard time. Even when they're at their worst, they always play tough at home. And so all I would tell you at Cal, you better come in there with your head straight. Put last week's game behind you, because Boston College, um, I think they're sitting there with the spit going, and they want some bear meat.
While you were talking, like I was starting to think, and I'm like, what's the over under on this game again? It's
I
gambling is sports gambling's not quite legal here, so I can't put money down on it, but legally. But I was surprised because the over under in this game is 51 and a half, and quite frankly, with these two quarterbacks, I could see a shootout in this game. I think Lonergan has really shown he can chuck it around the yard, and we know, and I think JKS kind of learned his lesson after last week.
hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, this is going to be tougher because it's a true road environment. You're traveling from Berkeley, California to Boston to Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Not exactly just a cruise down the road. Um, I think I'm going to take BC on what's going to be a competitive kind of high scoring game, like where both teams are going to get in the 30s.
Hmm. You see, I got another Will Waggle here, man. Go ahead, boo me. You know, I honestly, all these factors thrown in here, I'm just going. This is likely a very evenly matched game. And as you point out, these two quarterbacks, man, I tell you what, ACC quarterbacks this year, there is so much talent, and a lot of it's not getting the recognition that it deserves. And these are two guys in particular that need and deserve a lot more recognition than they're getting. They're very good.
100% Jim, and where they're playing is the only reason why they're not.
Yep, exactly. All right. I'm not picking on that one. So let's go to our next one. Virginia Tech at NC State. That's 7 o'clock. That's going to be on the CW.
Mhm.
Get your
This
app,
is,
download it.
funny thing is when they select these games in the preseason, it was like we talked about the USCF Miami. No one knew it was going to be nearly as good of a game as it was. This game on paper in the preseason looked pretty interesting.
Sure did.
Not necessarily so much now because Virginia Tech's obviously got an interim coach. Um, I like State here pretty handily by like 17 to 20 points. Uh, I
Wow.
I just I think they're going to be able to do a lot on offense, and I don't trust Virginia Tech's offense to really keep up with them.
I'll take the pack, but I'm only going with 7 points, if that.
You think the Hokies are going to have some spunk in this game as you
I do. I do. I think that the interim coach is sort of reinstilling something here. And that's usually the case when you get a new coach. You sort of get this re-energized group of people. We'll see whether or not they can pull it off. So NC State by a touchdown, at least a touchdown. So all right, our last game, San Jose State at Stanford. Daggone it, Stanford, you better win this one. Grr.
It's funny to me, and this is something I'm probably never going to get used to, that a game between San Jose State and Stanford is the primetime game on the ACC network,
Yeah,
which probably means we're getting Wes Durham on the call in this
that's
game.
right. He was out at Dallas for the
Yeah,
SEC.
he did the didn't he do the Cal he did the Cal game a couple of
Yeah,
weeks ago.
he did.
Yeah, recently. I think he did a Cal game, and that was just weird. Um, yeah, this game doesn't quite have the intrigue to me that it did in the preseason. I thought San Jose State would be a little bit better than they've been. Obviously, Stanford's not very good, so it's kind of a stoppable force versus movable object. I, for once in my life, am going to take Stanford because I just don't. I think the running game is going to be the key here. Ford is actually a pretty good running back. I think they could ride him to like 20 carries on like 100 plus yards and a couple of TDs, and I think they could win that way.
So if with Louisville we go cards, with Stanford are we supposed to go card?
Yeah. Which card, man? Heart, spade, diamond, club.
That's 7:30 at ACC Network. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make fun of
Yeah.
It's just weird having
Yeah.
Cardinal and Cardinals
Yeah.
in the
The
same
Cardinal.
Cardinal. Okay. All right. As I promised, I'm going to throw in here some basketball. Bart Torvik has got his ACC men's college basketball projection out. And along with this, he also includes how they would rank nationally. But this is how it's laid out, and I'll come back and I'll tell you how they're ranked nationally. But here's how it lays out for the top teams in the ACC: Duke, Louisville, North Carolina, Virginia, NC State, SMU, Clemson, Miami, and then the rest are down below that. Strongest offense, Louisville. Strongest defense, Duke. Now, how are they ranked nationally? Duke, number 2. Louisville at number 11. North Carolina at 18. Virginia at 35. North Carolina State at 39. SMU 46. Clemson at 52. And Miami at 55. So those are teams that have the potential to slide on in and do their thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that Torvik has it the way this is. I mean, I haven't really gone into full-fledged basketball mode, but something tells me Louisville's winning the league this year. I just think they're with with the transfers, especially the addition of Isaac McNeely and a more up-tempo offense. I think he's going to have a huge season for the Cardinals. I just don't. Duke is not quite the talented team it was last season. I think I could actually see them taking a step back. I mean, I continue to say I'm not 100% sold on Carolina just because I don't think they're. Um, it's just because I just don't believe in Hubert Davis as a coach. Virginia and NC State are kind of big wild cards because yeah, they have new coaches who are really good coaches, but completely new rosters. They could. I think there is a high floor for both of these teams, but I think their ceiling is they could win the league, quite frankly.
Here's what I'm going to tell you about Virginia and NC State. If you're a fan of basketball, go take a look at their rosters and a close look and do a little dive into the background of those players. Then you'll understand why we think that these two teams stand a really good chance of of pushing at the top. Louisville definitely. I think Louisville is all that and a bag of chips. I just think that Duke may be missing out on the bag of chips. But again, he's got
Yep.
strongest offense Louisville and strongest defense Duke.
Hmm.
Both of them are ranked 4. And that says something. This is going to be a really good season. It almost feels like we're returning to what ACC men's basketball used to be, and we'll see how that all plays out. And I'm with you on North Carolina. Last couple of seasons have just been totally unimpressive, and I just think the experiment is pretty close to coming to an end. And
It's going to be he's going to have to prove a lot this year to keep his job, that being Hubert Davis. We'll see. I mean, we'll have plenty more time to talk basketball here in the next month or so as we get into the season.
exactly. Okay. That's a look at sports across the ACC. Go join us at, among other places, TikTok, ACC Nation Net. And man, oh man, hang on here just a second.
Yeah, I just while you're doing that, I did actually just posted one on Sunday talking about the play I talked about during the Syracuse Clemson game with the play Klubnik, looked off an open receiver to it, and like I said, it's gotten quite a bit of traction. A lot of comments. A lot of people are saying Klubnik is not seeing the field very well, which is very true right now. He's just not seeing the field very well, and he like a lot of other people who are highly touted in this quarterback class of 2026 are off to a really slow start this season.
Let's go down to Texas and take a look.
Arch Manning, Arch Manning, Arch Manning, Arch Manning.
Wow. Okay, Johnny Manziel Jr. It's not that bad. I hope. Anyway, let's look, like I said, at what's going on around the ACC. And thank you for letting us join you. And make sure that you visit our website at accnation.net. At the very top, you'll see all of the links to our social media platforms. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast, listen to streaming radio, and also subscribe and watch us on YouTube. Until next time, cheers.
Score.
ACC Nation, your source for ACC sports coverage with Will and Jim. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on our podcast, streaming radio, and YouTube. Connect with us on Blue Sky, Reddit, Instagram, Threads, Mastodon, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn.